Hoops. Your sport sorted.
Hi everyone, this is Andy from Hoops. I'm here with Steve Graham from the Anti-Gravity Revolution. We're going to be doing a bit of work together this summer, so we're having a chat, basically to let you know what we're going to be getting up to. So, Steve, welcome.
Welcome.
Can you start by telling us how you got involved in basketball when you were younger, why you chose that sport over others?
It was because I thought it was a cool sport. Football and rugby are both things that I played, I enjoyed. But basketball just had something about it that I thought was cool.
Were you on your own with that, or did you have a lot of friends who were thinking the same kind of thing? Because obviously it's not the biggest sports in the country.
In my school there was quite a big following for basketball. The teacher was quite pro basketball, which was great.
Yeah.
This was high school because I actually didn't start playing till high school.
Yeah.
And the other friends that I made through basketball were basically people that were seeing it like I saw it, something a bit interesting, something a bit different, wanted to try something else. Football was really saturated. Rugby was on the up and coming in my school, and basketball was relatively popular. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you reckon it's important to have that kind of role model then? Because I don't know when
As in the PE teacher.
Yeah, because I mean, because basketball ain't massive in this country. You haven't got those role models necessarily coming from the players. Maybe it's important to have more like a grassroots role model.
Yeah, he was a good role model. And what was really good about Gary Davies, my PE teacher, was that he brought in pro players. He was really into that. He was one of the first teachers to do that, I think, and he brought in pro players to teach us and coach us. He actually employed one for a few years called Larry Spencer, who still coaches now. And he was a role model as well as a teacher, so he understood the benefit of role models, and he brought in external ones to inspire us.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So what kind of level was Larry Spencer playing at?
He was playing in the BBL then, which for a team called Bury Lobos,
Yeah.
which then became Bury Wildcats, and now they've sort of made a comeback now as the Bury Blue Devils, but at a lower level, in a lower division. Yeah, that was the top level back then. And Larry Spencer was an American legit player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was American, this guy.
American guy. Came over to play over here. I suspect he was on quite a good wage, not massive, but I suspect he was on £20,000 to £30,000 a year, and he topped up his income with coaching.
Because when you're looking at role models in the sport, you can't be looking at Americans surely at that point. You can't be looking at your Michael Jordans.
Yeah, that's a fair comment. America is still way ahead of us. They're definitely way ahead of us in the game, and you can learn a lot from them. Let's be honest.
Who was your favourite player?
My favourite player of all time is Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Right now I'm a big LeBron James fan.
Yeah.
Which is controversial. And the player that's my size and weight is Steph Curry.
Right, nice.
Which is obviously an incredibly skillful player. If anyone knows about basketball, knows probably the most skillful player in the league, taking to his shot and his handle. And it's the kind of person I measure myself against.
Yeah. How do you compare?
Exactly, yeah, not too good. But I train like him, and I learn from him, and I just enjoy that side of it, the training aspects, and just admiring what people can do and trying to be like them. It's part of the beauty of any sport.
Yeah, definitely. So you were playing at school?
Yeah.
How did you then start progressing towards, obviously you played for Manchester Giants, you're playing at a pro level.
Yes.
In England.
Yes.
So how does that progression happen?
So I was always quite a good player from sort of like my second or third year. I became quite good because of my work ethic. Basically, I played loads. I say work ethic it's because I loved it. I played every day because I loved it. But it is work ethic at the end of the day. So I got to college, still playing at a good level, and then got to play for the Great British College Boys team, which was a real achievement for me. So that was college boys from all over the country, and I was coming off the bench for that team. And I played in some local leagues around Manchester, and I got scouted by a gentleman called Dave Bonnick, who now runs sports centres around the country. He's moved on with his career. He was a scout for the Manchester Giants, and he scouted me, and I played for the Manchester Giants for 3 years.
Do you think that kind of pathway is clearly defined?
No.
No. Straight in there.
Yeah, definitely not. It's a bit of luck. There's not really a solid foundation for basketball in this country. But that's fine, we do well, we enjoy it, and I think the sort of culture and the people in the game are interesting people, and the people who do something at the end of the day, they've done something a bit different with their sporting careers.
What do you think needs to be done to offer that pathway? Because obviously, with so many sports, either your old traditional sports or sports trying to gain popularity, you're all after the sportiest kids.
Yeah.
So what needs to be done to filter them through to basketball, do you reckon?
Well, that's interesting. I think in school, I myself, amongst other basketball players, were some of the more athletic kids in the school.
Yeah.
And I think basketball, it serves those type of people well, people who can jump a bit, move well in different directions, who can change pace well. And I think that type of person needs to give basketball a shot. So the advertisement of the sport as being that kind of thing, an athletic game, a quick game, a game that involves jumping high, running quickly. I think advertising that fact and drawing people in that way is the best way to bring people to the game.
Yeah. So then, obviously after you stopped playing for Manchester Giants, you've started looking at TAGrev, the Anti-Grav Revolution.
Yeah, which is my new company, yeah.
How does that fit into everything you've just said about offering that pathway for people and trying to get them involved in basketball?
Well, with me, I enjoyed the game and I've always been quite good, but I was never an elite pro, and I knew that I wasn't going to get very far in the pro game, and that's just life, that's the way it is.
Yeah.
My dad was pushing me to pay rent and things like that, and I was getting no money from the Giants, let's be honest. And I was trying to top that up with coaching and working night time at Mega Bowl. I think I've mentioned this to you before in conversation. I worked at Mega Bowl and I just wasn't making enough money, so I wanted to do something with basketball so I could keep playing. So I started Bury Blue Devils Basketball Club, which is the one I mentioned before. That was actually started by me, and that was taken over by the council eventually because it was just quite a big responsibility for me, so I needed some help. The council took that over for me to keep it going, which was great. And TAGrev became my private enterprise, something that I did to keep me involved in basketball, teach basketball at an elite level, do one-on-one coaching and stuff like that. It just kept me involved in the game.
Tell us a little bit about how you're doing it, because I know that you're trying to modernise the way basketball's sort of coached in this country, aren't you?
Thanks for bringing that up. Yeah, that's exactly right. So I'm trying to bring over here those kind of elite training methods, resistance band work, strength and conditioning, trying to make people basketball players and make them athletes. The children and adults and everyone who I work with really respond well to that. I work with kids as young as 6 all the way through to guys as old as 50. In the 50s, I think some of them are probably nearly 60 at some of my older clubs. And they all respond really well to that strength and conditioning side of it, and that fitness element, and I try and bring that to the game and bring that to my coaching methods.
I think you said something when I spoke to you before about trying to make your strength stronger as well, rather than going for all-rounders. Like, is that...
You mean skill-wise?
Yeah, in your skill set.
If you've got something that you do really well.
Yeah,
I think that's common in all sports. Something all coaches should embrace. If someone's really good at something, you should definitely push that element of your game and just become a master at it. At the same time, you don't want to overlook your weaknesses either. You want to try and bring them up as well. But if you're good at something, exploit it.
You just said you try to bring these kind of training methods over from America. When America is so much better than, well, Britain for one, but most of the world, how can people in Britain just be overlooking the way they're coaching the players? I mean, obviously, evidently you're not, but people in the upper echelons of British basketball, how is this not happening?
Yeah, they do it. I definitely don't think they advertise it like they should, and I think they should definitely not put money into, in the pro leagues, they shouldn't put money into bringing people over to play here. They should put that money into training us better than anywhere else in the world. Same with any sport. I've said before openly that I think it's a matter of time till America starts beating us at soccer, our football, they call it soccer, as you know. Because they train better than us, they train harder. Anywhere that trains harder than you will eventually beat you. It's just a matter of time. So we need to make sure we train harder than everyone else in all our sports.
It's interesting. This is something I always ask people in this job. You say that people need to train harder. Do you think it's kind of like a symptom of modern culture that you aren't having kids playing sport all the time and they're not training so hard? It's like people maybe like ourselves would have just been out playing sport in the garden whenever you had a spare moment.
Definitely was, yeah.
Whereas now, you might be playing FIFA.
Yeah, it's a very good point. My basketball company, the Anti-Grav Revolution, actually sponsored by 2K video games.
Yeah.
It's like something I've had to do really to bring kids on board. But you're right, kids spend a lot more time playing video games now, things like that. I was sort of forced not to play them when I was younger. I was pushed out of the house. I think parents now are maybe being a bit softer on that because it's a way of the world. It's just a symptom of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it is a problem. Children need to try and force themselves out the door and understand that if they get out there, be active, they're going to be better than their peers physically. And physical betterment is something you should aspire to.
Exactly. It's not just about it's not just about training specifically for sport. If you're playing tag or climbing a tree,
absolutely,
you're strengthening the muscles that you get and use for sport when you are training.
Completely agree with you. That's a really good point. Yeah, swinging on trees, monkey bars, things like that. It's going to help.
I think that what we need to do is make coaching more fun for kids, to make sure that they do see it as more attractive than sitting on a PC or whatever.
I say my approach is don't patronise young people. Doesn't matter how young they are. They could be 6 years old, which is as young as I coach. Teenagers, never patronise them. Talk to them like you would do an adult. They will absorb it really, really well. I think that is a key element to coaching. If you don't patronise the young people, they'll listen to you and they'll respect you and they'll do as you ask. Otherwise, they just think, who's this guy talking to me like a kid? Do you know what I mean? I want to be. They see themselves as being something great, even though they might not train that way. You need to speak to them like that, so they absorb what you say and respect you.
If you were speaking directly to either parents or kids who were thinking about getting involved with TAGrev this summer, I mean, first off, tell them what it is in terms of when it's happening and how much it costs, but then, how would you pitch it to them? How would you sort of entice them to come and get involved?
Well, I would say it's a good all-round basketball event. For a start, I would entice them with the technology, basketball technology. We use Bluetooth basketballs, the resistance band work, the strength and conditioning, attack pads, stuff like that. Some people might not understand who are watching this interview, but some people who know basketball will. At the same time, we've got that element of the video game where we have downtime, we have expert nutritionists on hand that will prepare food for people if they come along. We've got everything covered. It's a real pro event. So I tempt them in that way, and if they go online as well and look at the, I'll just make a bit of a picture, if they go onto YouTube and type in TAGrev basketball camps, they can actually see what we do and watch those camps, and that's something I always say to people that are asking me about it. I say, go and check us out online so you don't have to take my word for it, see what we do, and then of course, then they can make the judgment for themselves, and usually they turn up.
Because I think you've had quite a lot of players going out to do some pretty decent stuff, haven't you?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. My coaching methods, we're not affiliated to any basketball team, which is something I was really passionate about. So we can say, look, why don't you live near the Manchester Magic, go and play for the Manchester Magic, give them a shot. You're near the Manchester Giants, go near there, go and play there. And we really like being able to do that, send people to where they can just play and bring the games along naturally.
What kind of feedback do you get from the clubs when they're getting your players that have been trained? Are they saying that they can see a difference?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, our methods are far ahead of most people's, I'm proud to say. We really push people on. And on our camps, we let people either sample it to a level that they feel like it's comfortable to them, so they just want to enjoy the new equipment and stuff like that, or if they want to, they can push it. So we get guys that are elite, they come along and they really, really rinse out our training and get the best from it. And after the week, it doesn't matter who you are, you'll come out a better player.
See, he just wanted a jump shot, but they wanted to start a cult, though. Didn't want to get caught from Genesee Park to Othello. You can clown for those probings with the Velcro, those were not tight. I was trying to fly without leaving.
Hi everyone, this is Andy from Hoops. I'm joined by Steve Graham from the Anti-Gravity Revolution. We're going to be doing a bit of work this summer, so we thought we'd have a chat and let you guys find all about it. Welcome, mate.
Thank you very much. Nice to be here.
Well, that was shit.
That was awful, that one.
Yeah.